everybody, and welcome to this week's Motivation Assist podcast. Today I'm joined again with Jodie, or by Jodie, I should say, our motivation nutritional consultant.
Hello.
Hi, Jodie. And we are going to talk to you today about a very interesting topic, the topic of yo-yo dieting. Now, certainly, I would say in my experience, I would see a lot of clients, a huge amount of clients, if not the majority of clients, come into us on their first visit who have experienced this yo-yo dieting, meaning that they lose weight and then only to put it back on again. And, you know, my heart goes out to these clients and to anybody listening who's experienced yo-yo dieting, because you know, people will say to us that they have feelings of, they feel a failure. You know, and we'd always say, look, it's not you haven't failed, the programs have failed you. So it goes back to, you know, what we've said and we've been saying for 24 years, and our scientific studies prove that the only way to lose weight and keep it off long term is to address what we call the mental weight, which we've spoken before about. So looking at why we overeat, why the weight is going up and down. So, you know, and we'd always say you are going to slip. You're only human. You'll have good days and bad days. That's normal. It's okay. But just because you have a bad day, it doesn't mean that you've ruined it all. We learn by the bad day. But the interesting thing is that yo-yoing does also can have a negative effect on the body. So Jodie, you're going to talk to our listeners today about the effect yo-yo dieting has.
Absolutely. And I think that people come into us who have tried these fad diets, been on a program for a period of time, and it may have worked for them at one point, and then they come in and they say it's just not working anymore, or I'm not losing weight, or I've ended up gaining more weight than I weighed before I ever started one of these fad diets, which is something we see all the time. And that is all down to your metabolism adapting over time to what you are doing to your body. So going back to what we were saying, you know, really the only way to achieve a long-term sustainable weight loss is to change the mentality and address why you're gaining the weight in the first place. Stop dieting, get rid of that whole concept, and implement new lifestyle changes that become long-term habits. So over time, if you think about what you're doing to your body, if you're going on these fad diets where you may be on a program that's really restrictive, maybe you have absolutely no carbs or no sugar, or you're trying a juice diet, you're putting your body under a certain stress that it over time adapts to. If we think about what metabolic adaptation means, it goes back to the time of when we were hunter-gatherers. So if you think of a period of time where we would have gone through food scarcity, so maybe food was not readily available, the body during that period will learn to naturally store fat, hold on to whatever it can get to preserve energy during that time. And then when you do start eating again well, so the same as you would when you come off a diet these days and reintroduce foods, the body stores again everything it can and grips onto whatever you're putting onto it more than it would if you just maintained a constant balance. So that's really where our plans come in, where we not only address the mental side of what is causing the weight gain, but we put you on a balanced program that makes sure you're not yo-yoing up and down with your weight and your eating patterns.
So that's really interesting, Jodie. I'm sure for listeners out there, and as I say, I'm sure there's many of you who have experienced this yo-yo syndrome. And something that comes to mind too is, you know, I'd like to reassure people. We hear clients coming in who may not have that belief because they've tried so many things that haven't worked, and will store their larger sizes in clothes.
Yeah.
That's a huge thing, isn't it? That
Absolutely.
we see. So, you know, we would say, encourage people to, you know, believe there's no going back. Let's look forward. Let's learn by our slips. But certainly get rid of then those larger sizes, because it's easy, isn't it, Jodie? Sometimes people, let's just say, for example, it's time of the month for a female and we're retaining fluid. And I know myself, there's nothing more that you might want to do than get into your jammies in a hot water bottle, your comfies. So sometimes that can happen. And then it could go another week if people do slip. So we would, that's something we hear a lot, isn't it? That the clothes also get rid of larger sizes.
And we don't always blame people for being in that mind state, because when you have tried years of yo-yo dieting, you do see that the weight creeps back on because you're not doing a program that's sustainable for you. So that's really what we change here going forward. You shouldn't be gaining the weight back on. The majority of our clients don't, because we're putting them on a correct program. But when you see people who come in and say, my metabolism has slowed down, or I just can't lose weight anymore, they can all be signs of metabolic adaptation that has kicked in their body as a response to what they've been doing for the last couple of years. So there are kind of 3 common types of signs that we'll see when that is happening for someone. And it's someone who will come in and say, I'm dieting, but I don't seem to be losing any weight. Or they may have started losing weight on one diet, but then it comes to an abrupt halt and the weight loss plateaus, which we also have programs here to address. And then the third thing we might see is someone who comes in and says, I've started this diet that worked for me before, but this time around it's just not working, and they're frustrated. So they're all signs that your body is adapting to what you've been doing over the last couple of years, metabolic adaptation. So all of our programs are designed to combat that and put you on a long-term weight loss program that's sustainable.
And that I can only feel the pain for people who feel frustrated, who, you mentioned the word, Jodie, plateau. And it's interesting because our studies prove that 70%, 80% of the time plateaus are actually in the mind.
Yeah.
And and I know we've seen it, that a lot of clients may lose weight, say a stone or 2, and then they flatline or plateau. So metabolism, as you're saying, can play a role, but more than usual, we would see that that's a psychological mindset. So the client obviously could feel they're feeling 2 stone lighter, their clothes are feeling more comfortable, they're getting loads of compliments. So of course the motivation is not 100%.
Exactly,
as
it starts to ebb away.
Exactly. So as you said, we address the physical side, but also then that psychological side is hugely important.
And that's the difference, here at Motivation. We offer the support and we give people the tools to know what to do when that happens, compared to a fad diet that you might look up on the internet, where you have no one to ask and no one to refer to when you do come into a problem like a plateau.
Mm-hmm. So thank you as always for listening to our podcast. If you have experienced yo-yo dieting, or if you wish to lose weight and keep it off, obviously, then all our information is available on our website at motivation.ie, and we look forward to covering another hot topic next week.